playing Division 1 or having high aspirations, whatever. It's not just about skill. Like I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the strongest. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe I was the strongest, but um, I wasn't like I wasn't a freak, or anything on the field. Like I didn't have like a supernatural ability. I was just very consistent,
Yeah.
and I just made sure that I focused on what I had in front of me and focused on the process. You know, it's not about you're competing with yourself, so it's not always about the other person. Although you want to outwork everybody, it's about how can I be the best version of myself um every day? How can I get 1% better every now? How can I improve?
Yeah.
As long as I'm improving.
Hello and welcome to the Athlete First Media Podcast. Today I am joined by my good friend, but notably in the athlete world, former UMaine running back, now acting star, potentially, Brian Santana-Fis. Brian, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Absolutely. Okay, so obviously, I mean, it's weird because we're in an environment where it's like a little bit more professional than anything else because we're usually just talking randomly. Um, but I want to start at the beginning because although I know the beginning stories, I think a lot of people don't. So let us know like how football started for you, like as a kid.
Yeah, so I grew up like basketball and baseball were like my first um sports growing up. Like my dad played pro basketball in Dominican Republic. My mom I think was on the Dominican national team for volleyball. Um and I don't know, like there was I used to watch football like here and there, and I'm just like that looks fun. Like
Yeah.
it's like all I knew about it was like hitting people and just being aggressive and stuff. So I yeah, I did Pop Warner. I actually I started off as an offensive lineman,
Oh, jeez.
Warner, and I like in 8th grade I wanted to play running back.
Yeah.
So I was playing tight end and defensive end and stuff, and then played a little bit of running back, and then when I got to high school, that's when I played running back pretty much for the first time, and I played varsity as a freshman and started both ways as a sophomore. Yeah, had a start off at a public school, went to then transferred to a Catholic school,
Yeah.
co-ed, and then after that, people are like, "Damn, my schools." After that, I went to a boarding school in Connecticut called St. Thomas More, and they were one of the top. They recruited me, and they were one, prep schools in the Northeast. You have guys like coming out of there going to Penn State,
Yeah.
UCLA, Virginia Tech, like a long list of names.
Yeah.
Um, and I was very fortunate enough to go there. And honestly, dude, that experience is not for everybody. One, it was all boys, and dude, I don't even know. Did I ever tell you how like our day would go? Like it would start at
Maybe.
be like 8 a.m. Or 8:30 bed checks. And
Oh.
you know, we would it was terrible. And then if like we didn't have our beds like you know made up like in the way that they wanted us to have it, then like we would get like I don't know points off or like cafe duty or whatever. Yeah, and then we had classes throughout the day. After school would end at like or 2:30, then we'd have to walk like 15-20 minutes up this like on the other side of campus to go to the football field, and then pre-practice would start at like 3:15. Practice starts at 3:30 and then ends at 6.
Holy crap.
We'd have to walk, and then dinner would be going on from like 5:30 to 6:30.
Yeah.
So we'd end at 6, and we'd have to sprint down to to go to the dining hall, and dinner would end at 6:30. Then we'd have to be on our own floors at 7:30 or 7:45. Oh no, no, we have to be on our own floors at 7:40, 7:30. 7:45, we had to be in our own rooms, and then 8 o'clock study hall with the door open. Like you couldn't have headphones on,
What?
or actually, I think if you like got honor roll, no, if you got honor roll like the first couple weeks, then you get to have your door closed. But um, yeah, dude. And then study hall would last from like 8 to like 9:30, and
Jesus.
we had free time between like 9:30 to 10:15, and then at 10:15, own rooms again. To go like to get ready to go to bed, and then
Yeah.
10:45 lights out. 11:30 the Wi-Fi cuts off.
Oh, Jesus.
Imagine me on the phone with somebody, and then all of a sudden it says no service. At
That sounds
11:30,
right.
at the moment, no service.
That's crazy.
I did that for 2 years, so I would do that every 5 times a week,
Yeah.
and we weren't allowed to leave campus during the week. It was, and honestly, all that prepared me for what I've done today, or what happened in the future.
Yeah.
Um, I don't recommend that. That experience isn't for everybody. You really got to be like mentally built for that or prepared for that. And then I was fortunate enough to play with a whole bunch of players, whole bunch of teammates that played Division 1 and are now, I mean, are still playing. Um, one of the guys that I played with, he got picked up by the Patriots, and there's a couple others. Um, and I had some smaller Division 1, Division 2 schools recruiting me, and then I was just kind of like, now I want to go bigger, and
Yeah.
I want to bet on myself, even when people were not necessarily agreeing with that. So I decided to go the junior college route, and a lot of states weren't necessarily playing that fall. Kind of decided to go to a junior college in Arizona, and became a. Did I ever tell you I was a freshman All American or All American on Rivals as a freshman?
Oh, really?
I don't even. I mean, I don't care about this now.
Yeah.
Um, on Rivals, my freshman year, I was like the number 35 JUCO player in the country, and had a great first year. Went to a junior college in California called El Camino, which is a very well-known JUCO, and shout out to Coach Giff and Coach Ty and Coach Cobb. Those guys, really changed my life, and had a great year there. Became all conference, and um, you know, somehow ended up at Maine. You know, and you know, it was I never thought I was going to end up over there. That was like my last
Yeah.
work, but you know, honestly, obviously I don't regret that at all. It's amazing.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting, obviously, because you obviously go through all the JUCO stuff. Find yourself in like building who you were gonna be eventually to when you got to play Division 1. What at that like level would you say was the biggest thing that like prepared you for D1 stuff?
Like what prepared me in JUCO to go like to be able to play Division 1. Yeah,
Like
honestly,
why JUCO?
why JUCO?
Essentially. Essentially,
Well,
yeah.
you know, one, when I told people I wanted to play JUCO, a lot of people were against it. Because, like a lot of people, I could be wrong about this, but at least over on like the East Coast or the Northeast, I feel like misconception about junior college that it's only for people who have had bad grades
Yeah.
or weren't good kids or got into trouble, and like I had like those were not my issues. Like I had good grades, because character issues weren't a problem. So that was I just it's a great opportunity, um, for you to improve and more time to show your skill set on a bigger level. JUCO, you know, in California, dude. Uh, you know, I was staying in, I was living in Los Angeles, in Watts, which is not the best area,
Yeah.
but we're 700 a month to share a room, and we had 15 people in our room.
Gross.
I was, waking up, working at Home Depot, waking up at like 5, 6 a.m. during the season to go to work, then work for like 5, almost 6 hours sometimes on my feet, to then go to class, uh, to then go to the trainer's room, get treatment, weight room, and then practice would start at 5 o'clock, and then we'd end at, and then I would study, do my homework when I got home, and I would do it in the next day, and you know that wasn't easy, dude. Like that was
I bet.
a lot of. I feel like a lot of people would give up, um, in that position, but I really just believed in my dream, and wanting to play Division One. I feel like I belonged. One, because I had already, you know, I went to a top boarding school with a bunch of Division One talent, and
Yeah.
we basically played like or national. We played some nationally ranked teams, and I felt like I belonged, and so I never lost sight of that, and I just trusted the process, and took everything day by day. Even in the off season, dude, I'm waking up at the time I was waking up at 5, 6 a.m. to go run or work out at this park with my trainer. We do that 4 or 5 times a week, and
Jeez.
there were days that weren't fun. you
Yeah,
know,
I can imagine.
I was fortunate enough to be recruited by Colorado State and University of Idaho, and almost went to those schools, and those offers disappeared, and Maine had came through last minute. You know, coach calls me and he says, "Oh, we might have a scholarship for you, um, but there's another kid on a visit." So the kid on the visit ended up committing. He called back saying it was gone, and I'm just like, it's June, and it's June, by the way, June of 2023.
Yeah.
Like I have nothing, and I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna go to Division 2, and I don't want to do. Not trying to discount that, but that wasn't my goal,
Yeah, 100%.
and I just kind of surrendered it to God. Said, "Hey God, like whatever you do in my life, even though I may not necessarily want it right now, I'm gonna go this route, this D2 route, or give this up. Like I will. Kid you not. It's around 4th of July. I'm on my way to the beach, um, in LA, and same coach calls me, and he's like, Brian, we have a scholarship for you, and just
You're like,
tears,
what?
tears come running down, dude.
Yeah.
And how I got into this school is like an incredible story because we're one for them to even have money at the time,
Yeah.
in July to give to me is you know that you don't see that happening. That the walk
No.
on. So I think I told you this, but and I feel like I'm talking a lot, but
No, you're good.
um, how I got into the school, like when we started getting into what credits are going to transfer over. So I had prior to them offering me, I had registered for these 2 classes, so I could, go back to JUCO.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even in my mind. And we're getting down to what classes are going to transfer over. They basically said like I'm a couple credits short. I need 2 specific classes to get in, and I'm like, um, I said I have these two, psychology courses that I'm taking, whatever. and um, he, I mean, he's like, "Oh, this is exactly what we needed." And I'm like, wow, like that's where God wants me to go,
For
and
sure.
went there, and 2 years there, and honestly, just all of that, all the adversity I had gone through before, um, like even going back to boarding school, like that, all prepared me. Um, the discipline, all that stuff prepared me for what I had to deal with at Maine, and um, the adversity I went through there, and even today. So,
Yeah, and I think it's interesting 'cause I'm off on the corner. I'm looking up things while we talk. But seeing funny enough, seeing you, I went up. I looked at your rivals page from when you were in high school because I was interested. And it says, which you can confirm or deny, and we'll, now rivals will be wrong if it's false. So they had said that you had an offer from Morehead State on the
yeah,
table,
yeah.
that Pitt was interested.
Yeah, a little bit. Like I don't. Yeah, maybe, maybe.
These are like non offers, but like
I would.
interest.
Yeah, I would say
Opposed.
like West Point. West Point. I was very close to getting an offer at the time to West Point, and
Yeah,
mm, they wanted me to go to their prep school or something. That's why I had to go. But a whole bunch of like UConn. I don't know. It's like a long list, but a bunch of schools were interested. I would say that when I got to El Camino, that's really when like the
things took
gate
off.
opened up. Like Colorado, Idaho. There was a bunch of like schools coming to watch me practice, um, me in person. So yeah, am I frozen?
Oh, okay, you're back. Maybe, maybe. Okay, we're good. Um, yeah. So it's interesting too, and then obviously I gotta look up the stats at El Camino because that's what I
Yeah.
do. But so then your last year there, you had 11 touchdowns in 11 games, 658 yards, averaging almost six a pop. It's
Yep.
pretty good.
Well, really,
um,
I had 665, but I don't know. They took out was that 8 yards?
yeah, yeah. They have 658 is the final. Yeah,
I really had six.
of
So I don't
course. That doesn't necessarily surprise me.
know, so it doesn't matter. But that's go ahead, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. And then so you got the bulk of the carries.
Yeah.
Um, what was the environment like that year for you guys?
Well, so
Because you guys end the year at, I'm sorry, here, hold on, 5-6. So on the rise up for El Camino, right? Because before you got there, they weren't a household name, and now they really are. I mean, they've lost one game all year.
well,
So
one I will say there's a bunch of history at El Camino.
that's true.
A bunch of Division One. Some NFL players have come out of there. So like prior to me getting there, I think the year before, they were in the semifinals for the before go championship. They had the top running backs in the country and stuff. My personal relationship with the running backs coach. He was trying to recruit me since high school, and
Yeah.
for some reason I just didn't like. I didn't trust him at first, but then before I trained there, I had visited,
Yeah.
and just like the professionalism, how they, the team, the culture, like you could feel it. Like, and there's history, there's tradition, like the way they practice, the way they do things. Before I
Yeah.
got it, when I was in, felt it, and that's honestly how to practice kind of when I got there. And what I mean by that is, as in professional sports, when you practice, you don't go to the ground. So I was very notorious for always falling to the ground, and they had to, just calm me down, whatever. But no, but anyways, it's just preseason we had the number one rivals rated our running back group the number one running back group in JUCO because we had a kid who had 1,000 yards the year before.
Yeah.
He was like, I think he was like number 2 or 3 in California in rushing yards that year.
Yep.
And had we had a transfer from Air Force who's now at Eastern Washington. My boy,
Okay.
we had, and then we had a freshman who's now at Louisiana Tech playing running back. My boy Imani. So we had like a whole bunch of guys like in one room, like, and all of us were capable of taking over a game or starting. We were, I was All American. The other kid was All American, and then we had the transfer from Air Force. So we competed with each other, and I just focused on my coach wanted me to focus on just doing my job, not trying to do anything out of the ordinary because we already had a running back who was more of a scat back, uh, was more of the bruiser, and you know we had a speed guy, a speed back. So it really helped me because I didn't feel like I had to carry everything. I had one our offense was talented, a bunch of receivers, good receivers and tight ends, but the running back group, was the strength of the team, and you know we all had different strengths. So it was focused on that one, my best skill set, and that's punishing people and you know just being consistent.
Yeah, and then obviously when you get to UMaine, I mean, obviously you talked about the turbulent process of getting there. um, but then once you got there, kind of how did things go for you?
It was rough, dude. I'm sure you know it was rough.
Yeah.
My my the first year, well, one, I was taking those summer classes at El
Yep.
Camino, so I had to finish those up before I could actually go to campus and then start practicing and stuff. Those Problem was those didn't finish until like at like middle of August. So I I was like getting so frustrated because I'm like they're in fall camp. I'm like gonna be behind. Like so I didn't get to campus until a week before the first a week and a half.
Jeez.
So I didn't have fall camp. So I had to learn the offense very, very fast. And I thought I was just going to walk in there and I was just going to do what I've always done and outwork everyone and dominate and, get my shot and then, skyrocket from there.
Yeah.
I thought, initially I had ended up traveling every game. I was only supposed to like I was only supposed to start traveling like the third game. And they put me on scout team for a little bit. And then, like after practice 2 or 3, they're like, get him off the scout team.
They said, "Do not get this guy hurt."
So I ended up traveling every game, and I learned the offense like fast. But what I realized is that at that level, it's a lot of details, like little footwork, um, being in the film room, whereas before, I could get away with certain things. Now, obviously, I was obsessed with film, but I could get away with false stepping or maybe you know missing a gap or an assignment and being able to my athleticism being able to make up for that. Versus here, everybody's good, um, and it's more about being smarter than everybody else. It's a lot of it is up here,
Yeah.
uh, and I have to realize that things take time. I didn't go in anyway. I wasn't even playing the first 3 games really, and I thought I sucked. Like I literally thought I sucked. I was like, oh my goodness, I thought I belonged, and I was trying
Yeah.
to prove to everybody that I could do it, and then my first carry against William and Mary, I like completely like trucked a guy, and everybody went crazy, and it was amazing. And then there was a game where we played Campbell, and I fumbled on my first carry, for the rest of the game because I was in my and I like genuinely one I felt like I like threw the game away, and then I had some games between then, and then we played Hampton. I was having a decent game, and in the fourth quarter, you know, quarterback gives me the ball, and I kind of bobble the handoff, and it falls, and then they come back and win.
Yeah.
I literally that season, that first year, I was just like, I don't know as good as I thought I was. But the reality is that I wasn't enjoying myself. Very like serious all the time, and I it's always in my head. And me and going into year two in the off season, I talked to Coach Waters, our offensive coordinator, and he really believed in me. Honestly, he told me, sat in his office. I'll never forget this. And he just says, I want you to get your swagger back. I want that. I want to see that Brian from El Camino that we saw on tape. Last year you ran, hesitant, or you ran like you weren't sure of yourself, which is true. And so what you got to do is, man, you got to trust the process. You got to love the process. I'll never forget this. You said, you got to love the process, and the process will love you back.
Mm.
That just made me think like that. That makes sense, dude. Because when you're very process oriented, you're focused on like the details. You're not worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, or what's going to happen later on. You're focused on, all right, what's my job right now. And when you do that, when you focus on the process, like the results just happen. Don't I always try to tell people like don't, and I struggle with this too, but don't look for those results because when you head like it's gonna, you're not gonna be present. And he's really trying to teach me, all right, focus on what you have right now. Like all this is gonna, um, you know, got faster, got bigger. The off season had a great spring ball, had a great camp, and
Yeah.
then we split carries between me, Jahari, and Tave, and I had a decent year two, and um, yeah,
And I think that's an interesting place. You kind of give me a great transition there for where I wanted to go next. Um, this past year, right? Um, I think, to those who may not have known you going into the year, um, I think they quickly figured out who you were pretty quickly into the year. Um, but I think that what a lot of people didn't see was the turbulence of the behind the scenes, and don't necessarily have to go into all the details about it all, but um, I think people, yeah, which is part of the reason why I have the podcast and why I do what I do, is we get stuck, especially with D1 athletes, even more so than anything else,
yeah,
is we forget that there's people involved.
exactly.
Um, so kind of give us the behind the scenes for you last year. I mean, obviously you end as the leading rusher on the team. You have a great year. Maybe not exactly the way you wanted it to go, but kind of give the behind the scenes things of like just how things were going for you during the
During the year, it's a good question.
year.
So during the year, it was a lot of adversity because I'm a competitor. So want to be on the field all the time. So,
Yeah,
uh,
rightfully so.
I think there was a stretch where I guess I wasn't necessarily getting the ball as much as I wanted to, which you know was fun, but it was also a little bit rough on me because I wanted to, not that I didn't want to, you know, I wanted to win. I guess I just wanted to be a part of that. I didn't complain about it. I just made sure I you know trust in the process and very focused and made sure that when my number was called, I was ready. Um, we played Villanova, I think a couple guys were out. That was a big game. Homecoming, you were there.
Yeah.
You know, that was I'll never forget that day. That day was crazy. That was like the craziest game I've been there.
Yeah, I mean, beat number 5 team in the country. Certainly can't blame you for remembering that. And then obviously you had the game that you had too. So
Had like I think 60 yards, whatever, and a touchdown.
yeah,
I had a great game, and then that kind of rippled effect into other games. Against Rhode Island, I had like a 90-yard game and 50-yard game. Against Oklahoma, I had whatever. That was a tough team to play.
yeah, yeah. Certainly now looking at them this year,
Yeah,
and most of those players returned. That
yeah.
Oklahoma team is basically the same team.
Against Brian, I had a 100-yard game and a touchdown. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was being able to just be a part of that and just have fun with the guys. That was a lot of. I really connected with a lot of those guys, to be honest with you. Throughout just that year, I thought we were so close, and guys gained a lot. Guys gained a lot of respect for me, especially the way I play. I'm very, when people see the way I run on the field, I think I'm like a maniac,
Yeah,
which I am.
yeah,
But in practice, dude, I'm going 100 miles an hour, and like, sometimes my coaches kind of have to pull me back because I'm
yeah,
going a little too hard. But it's, I train. That's how I train my body and my mind to when I go in the like hold back or I don't hesitate. Like one of my favorite basketball players. This is a different sport, but
yeah.
one of
Very good.
my basketball players is Russell Westbrook. Prime Russell Westbrook. He was dunking everywhere, going 1,000 miles an hour.
Yep.
His business, and I try to not emulate that. I mean, it's a different sport, but just going, giving it my all every play, when it's going to end. So, um, and I just thought that's what my teammates deserved, and also all the adversity that I displayed in the way I run.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes, sir.
I'm then interested to hear, obviously, because then the off season unfolds. And certainly, I think, people who don't understand, right? Because there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes than just, this player didn't come back for another year. I mean, where is he now? What is he doing, right? Um, for what ended up being an extremely turbulent off season has now ended much better. But kind of let us know, because I think people. I mean, there outlets around here were prep. Well, they were talking about you being part of the team, and I mean, I think because you were practicing with the team at the beginning of the training camp, you were doing things. What then shifted? Like, explain to people what exactly happened, because I don't think people. I think even to this day, probably people don't really know what happened.
Yeah. So I had some. So one, there was this. My Division 1 clock or whatever had basically ran out. After last year. Can you hear me? Hello.
You're back.
Oh, okay. You want me to say it again?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So my Division 1 clock had basically ran out after last season. And I was trying to get my COVID year back and was having issues with that. So then the NCAA came out with this ruling about junior college, because there was a kid from Vanderbilt who had sued the NCAA. They came back with a ruling saying that, seniors in their last year of eligibility get an extra year, whatever. Boom, I'm good. And talk to my coaches, they think I'm good. Some other people, they believe that I was good, but I had to go through like a waiver process, or they had compliance, had to check with the NCAA. I'm going through the off season, I'm going through, um, workouts, stepping into like a leadership role, you know, spring, um, honestly feeling good about my body, like body's feeling like it's like the best it's ever been at the time, and you know, felt like I was gonna have a great year, honestly, and I felt like I was finally, my, I was myself the second year, but I really felt like I was about to take that like next, and so I'm going through that, and then I kind of find out in like March or something that a waiver or the I don't qualify for that or for whatever get my COVID year, so I would have to get my COVID year to and
Yeah.
in order for me to get that waiver. So then I was like, okay, now I have to try to get my COVID year, and I'm gathering a whole bunch of things and trying to get it together in April, in the middle of spring ball. Um, coach calls me into his office and basically just tells me, breaks the news, and he's like, they're not gonna, they're not gonna do it. They're not gonna give me that extra year. And honestly, dude, I was super devastated. I didn't,
Yeah.
I didn't want to leave my apartment. I didn't want to. I was like super depressed. Like one of my life,
Yeah.
and I just felt super for a while. I felt super. I felt like I let everybody down. I didn't want to tell anybody because I felt super embarrassed. I
Yeah.
had all these plans. I wanted to do a podcast at school. I think I told you about that.
Yeah.
I was going to sign an NIL deal with Harvest Moon Deli. I was gonna do a whole bunch of things that I had like planned out. All that just like went out the window
Yeah.
with um with that ruling, and then I was you know trying to you know try to see if I could do a lawsuit because they keep
Yep.
getting
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
like talk to some people, and then I found out that a lot of these cases are like $50,000, and I was like,
Jeez,
do that,
yeah.
and I was like, okay, I can try to transfer to a D2 because I have D2 climb, or
Yeah.
I try to play overseas or whatever. But by the time like I thought about this, it was already June or July. So I was like, okay, I can go to a D2. I could play overseas or something.
Yeah.
But then I don't know if I get into acting or whatever and how I got
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I'm gonna transition now
Yeah. Yeah.
back to 2024 when I'm at UMaine. I wanted to take this acting class because I was doing more public speaking and kind of wanted to get out of my shell. At the time, I was very introverted and people, and just kind of wanted to get out of my comfort zone. Took an acting class, one because I love movies. I grew up loving movies. Um, Two, I just wanted to get out of my comfort zone. I do this monologue in class, and I make my professor like tear up, and oh, and then you know, she has me do other monologues, and then she comes up to me and she's like, and her name is, isn't it? And honestly, I love her so much because she's the reason I'm doing what I'm, or part of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing right now,
Yeah.
um, and she's been very great to me. But anyways, she asked me to audition for a Shakespeare company, and she sent me the script, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I can do this. Like, this is understand Shakespeare. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's just saying like you're overthinking it, blah blah blah, and kind of made. She's like, "Are you coming to audition? Are you coming to audition?" I was like, "Yeah, fine." So showed up and auditioned and was with the director. And ended up playing a supporting role. Um, Played like the Duke of York and the Duke of Gloucester or whatever.
Yeah.
And I had a sword fight, which was very fun, but also the most embarrassing thing I've ever done.
Fair.
But all my teammates were there. Like my coaches were there, my teammates were there, and just that support. Like they were going great. Like the trainers were there. Like doctors were there. Like and just that support from the community, from the humane community, just felt and um, just that whole experience. gave me confidence being on stage. And even though it was outside, I was just like, oh, this is like a lot of fun. You
Yeah.
know, I died and it was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
I kind of, because I did that so I can just try it out to see if I would
Yeah.
loved it. And I was like, all right, let me play at school and after the season and see what happens. So after the 2025 season audition, there was like I think two or three major plays in the spring at UVA, and audition. Then on callback day, my name's on like the callback sheet 5 or 6 different times between like two other plays, and I'm like, one was a comedy, one was a drama, and I was hoping I got the comedy because I was just like, okay, I already did Shakespeare, not that it was comedy,
Yeah.
but I was like something that's going to emotionally challenge me and
Yeah.
force me to get out of my comfort zone. So I ended up getting the lead role or played the main character. The play was called Wyoming, and um, not to get it like too deep into it, but my character basically kills his dad and goes away for a long time, and then goes mute and comes back and whatever, and his family's like upset with him, and hasn't seen his family in a long time. So I approached that very seriously, like I wouldn't like as I would in football, just studied, made sure lines weren't an issue, which they never were. Did some research, kind of asked questions like, how can I relate to this character? Because it's a lot of empathy. Like I don't in acting, you don't want to you don't want to bring the character to yourself. You want to bring yourself to the character. You want to be able to empathize with what the character is going through. What I wanted to do, like I wanted to do that, but also the audience, whoever was watching, to feel impacted by that and really feel the character was feeling.
Yeah.
I had a monologue towards the end of the play, and where I was like talking for like 8 minutes, and I was like, "Hold, on, I can remember this." Uh, I was like, "Okay," like, and I'm reading this, and I want to be able to cry during this, but so I said, "Oh, I want to do this." So I talked to the director. He's like, "Don't force it. Like, if it happens naturally, good. If it doesn't, and that's all." Because one thing you want to
Yeah.
do in acting, you want to fake cry because it's not going to look authentic, and you want your true self to come out of the when you're performing. So I wanted it to feel as real as possible. So by the time we got to performance, actually a couple of days, like a day or two before the performance, we're like rehearsing, like holy crap, and so I did it, and it came out of me during like the performances. And we had 5 performances. One of the days we had 2 in one day, I cried for all 5 performances at almost the exact same point.
Oh wow.
And I was like, and some people, not everybody in the audience, some people in the audience were tearing up.
Yeah.
They came up to me and said thank you, and um, I really appreciated that because that's what you do it for, dude.
Yeah.
You want to have an impact on people's lives, um, and I was just like, how did I? Now I kind of know how I kind of did it. Like there was some stuff I did backstage that I'm not going to get too deep into, but
Yeah.
to emotionally prepare.
For sure.
Um, but I was just like, wow, I don't like this is crazy, and also doing football at the same time while I'm doing this, and then somebody I was one of my friends, she was telling me that I should pursue this. Like, whatever, and just kind of telling her like, hey, like this, I'm passionate. I grew up loving movies, dude. Like passionate about film, going to the movies by myself. which some people think that's weird, but I don't care. But you know, the way I was talking, it seemed like natural, and she was like, "You should pursue this," and I was just like, "What?" I started doing that because I'm like, I'm playing football, and then in my I can't have a I can't have make a career out of this. Like, um, so I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm not doing that. So,
Yeah.
um, but I enjoyed it, and then part of me was like, all right, maybe she sees something or she's right. And then I talked to some other people, and they were kind of saying they loved the performance and whatever. And at the end of the semester, I got nominated for a bunch of different awards for that performance, and I got nominated for um, outstanding performance by an actor in a dramatic lead role, which is like just like a best actor award or whatever. Um, most performance ready, most memorable on stage moment, and then a funny one, which was like most likely to be on Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live. That was a tongue twister.
Love
Um,
that.
and then we our cast we got nominated and won best cast. And by the way, honestly, like my performance, was great, but wouldn't have came to life without my cast members, and
100%.
they gave great performances as well, and I thought they were very well deserving of awards as well. And I think some of them even I think one of our cast members won a supporting actor award, actress award.
Hey, there we
Um,
go.
but I won I won the best actor award. I was like, and that was something that was voted on by the theater department and the other theater students. And I would say that was the first time I was like, oh, and not that it's like, oh my god, this big deal, but
Yeah.
um, I was like, holy crap, like there might be something there that other people are seeing that I'm just trying to like not refuse to like look at
Yeah.
with more.
Yeah.
So I was like, dang, like okay, there is something. So I was talking. Oh no, so when I found out football ended, um, so now I'm whatever. Fast forward now when football ended, I went home for a couple weeks because I was like, okay, like and by the way, I love Orono and I love Maine. Um, I was like, and you know this, I wanted
Yeah.
to stay up there. I wanted to stay up there, and I wanted to potentially work up there, live up there, like potentially help out with coaching and do all those things.
Yeah.
Um, and went home. I needed to get away because I was like, all right, I need to like reevaluate everything and think about everything for a few weeks here. While I was home, I was like thinking about it. I was praying about it. I was like, okay, like I feel like I want to pursue acting. I'm not able to play football. Like, is coaching like really my passion? Like, is
Yeah.
like do I want to be up there because I want to do it, or do I want to be up there? Not that I wouldn't, but what do I want to be up there more so because of the people that are up there, that my lifelong friends and um, people that I've come across, which have been so good to me. So the oh, you hear me?
Repeat. Yeah, repeat that for once. The last like sentence. You said
Like,
lifelong friends, and then it cut
oh,
out.
like did I want to be up there for like my lifelong friends, like you, the church community, or my teammates, or my other friends? Uh, and I've lived in, I've been fortunate enough to live in Jersey, Arizona, Connecticut, California, and Maine. And I just something about Maine is like it's very different, dude. Like, wow,
Yeah.
just genuine people. I've been around a lot of fake people, and I just feel like I don't know. It's such a small community that you really get to build those relationships, really get to know people. So that's what really attracted me to Orno. But I was just like, I don't know, I want to do something in life where I feel like I'm in a direct impact on somebody's life, you know? And the more I was thinking about it, the more I was like, okay, God didn't put me on this earth to, you know, necessarily be average or anything like that or limited or put me in a
Yeah.
box. He put me on this earth to do great things. And the more I was thinking about it, the more I was just like, okay, I kind of want to do acting. One, because it's a way to empathize, show vulnerability, which, the world is a very dark place. And I think, especially men, like, we don't really show that side.
Yeah.
Allows people to see that and say, oh, that's okay. Have an impact on people through, like, I told you this before. I remember me as a kid going to the movies, you know, being able to laugh, cry, have a good time,
Yeah.
being like amazed by this art form and all these stories, and really just those stories would shape sometimes the way I would view life. I remember, Rocky. Those are that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
A story about adversity and um, stories of have had a big impact on me. So I was thinking about it, and I was just like, okay, I think I want to do this. And then I called one of my mentors, and his name is Brother Maul. It's been I've known him since high school. Great impact on me, and I just told him I want to pursue acting, and he used to study acting at Rutgers, and he's like, you gotta go to New York.
You're like, great.
You gotta go. And that was like the last, like, because I was like, I do not want to move back home,
Yeah.
and called some other people, and they're like, yeah, like, go after this. And I was at the time I was scared because I was like, I don't know what people are gonna think of me. Trying to, like, I'm sure when you first met me, and even like a year ago, if I told you I wanted to be an actor, you probably would have looked at me and just, you know, been like, what?
Fair.
A lot of people like that know me as Brian the football player. And they don't know that side of me.
See, I think I got the unique introduction to you. So I think my perspective is a little bit different because, like, I had no clue who you were, and then, I mean, to give people a little insight on how we met, I guess, like, a bowling night happens, 4 people show up, and you're one of them. And at the time, like, when I first start talking to you, I have no clue who you are or what. Um, and then, like, slowly getting to know you, but, like, that first initial, like, that wasn't in the middle of football season. Football hadn't started yet. So, like, I guess I get like that. I don't know. Like, to me, you were never like, and even still, like, you were never a football player. You were just Brian. Like,
But
but I
you
think
know,
a lot of people wouldn't get that perspective, like you're saying.
athletes. Like, I even had a friend that I went to go see yesterday, and he was like, "Dude, you really like." I was talking to him, just telling everything that was going on. He was like, "Dude, you really want to go after this?" Huh? Like, he was kind of surprised because, like,
Yeah,
and he's known me my whole life.
yeah,
Like, wouldn't expect that, out of me. So I was like very hesitant. The more I was thinking about it, the more I was like, one, I'm doing this, to glorify God, and also one because I enjoy it, and to also have an impact on people. So, like, I really, one, probably people aren't going to care anyways. Two, um, who cares about what people think? And dude, we're young. Like, I'm 24. Like,
yeah,
it, right now is the time to go after these things.
100%.
Not when you're like 32 and you have a family or you have kids or whatever. You have more responsibility. It'll be harder. You can't. I was just like, if I go after this, I have to do this now. And then
Yeah,
if I fail, at least I can go back and say, okay, like at least I tried.
yeah, 100%.
So I took a leap of faith, and I was like, okay, like I think I'm gonna go after this, and you know, um, told my pastor, and um, you know, told me to go after it. A bunch of people told me to go after it, and just felt good like that support. Even some of the guys that I would talk to, some of my teammates, I would even talk to you about it, and
Yeah.
you encouraged to go after it. We sat down and talked about it, and I appreciate that. I basically, so I think we've been talking forever, so I hope I'm not going over.
Oh, you're fine. There's no time limit on you. I always just a lot an hour to 45 minutes because some people don't have the time to do longer than that.
Okay, but yeah, okay. No, I mean we know each other, so it's like I feel like this is
Yeah.
so natural
Yeah.
conversation. But
Yeah.
anyways, I guess I'll continue. I'm looking at. He sends me a couple. My mentor sends me a couple studios to look at in New York and um a couple acting schools, and I was trying. There was like three that I was trying to decide between, and I in for like a day of a summer class, and I absolutely like loved it, dude. Like
Yeah.
just it made complete sense,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, but I was like a little hesitant because one thing about me, I like to take my time when I make decisions. I want it to be irrational or emotional or anything. So I, yeah, I'm trying to decide. I was gonna go to another studio, and I'd apply to the scholarship. This scholarship that, um, okay, so the one that I sat in on, the studio was that studio was called the Maggie Flanagan Studio. So another studio was called Esper, which I went to, and was trying to decide between those two. So I'd applied to a scholarship with Maggie Flanagan. I think it's only like 3,000, whatever. But they only give it to two students throughout the year, and I had applied, and I was like one of the two students that got it, and I was still like hesitant about it,
Yeah.
and I work in at a restaurant, part time at a restaurant in the summer. Um, my boss, she was an actress and I was telling her, I said, yeah, I'm trying to decide between these two studios, but I don't know,
Yeah.
because there's this, the other one has this, and she's like, oh, I went to Maggie Flanagan, right? And this, and then I'm working in New Jersey, and I'm like, oh, so I have to go there, or
Yeah.
that's a sign at least. There was too many signs that I can't continue to ignore. So I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to go, and it's been great so far, dude. I absolutely love it. I'm training. I'm doing a 2 year program there, and uh, just learning how to live truthfully under imaginary circumstances, and um, how to be authentic as possible and not force anything, and how to take how to take another person in, uh, and not take the attention off of myself and put the attention either what I'm doing or the other person. Um, and then obviously, I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about the other stuff like outside of that that's happening.
Yeah.
The
Up to you.
Yeah, I've sometimes I work part time at these. I work like as a production assistant at different events, and I've worked. Dude, I've met so many people in New York, dude.
Yeah.
I
That's
can't
an
believe
understatement.
I mean, yeah, yeah. And I'm actually about to go to this event tomorrow that you know about.
Nuts.
Yeah, I know. But dude, I've met so many people. It's been great. You know, I was at a Food Network event um, the other week that you know about. I was
Yeah.
working at a festival, um, which even like how I got hired, dude, it was incredible. Or to where I was on the phone with one of the hiring people, and um, this is like a job where just work different type of the events kind of come on like a couple times a year. I was just telling her my story with football and how I got into acting,
Yeah.
just that passion that just came out of me. She was like, "You're hired," like on the spot. I was like, "Wow!" And God's just been opening up so many doors um,
Yeah.
that um, I would never have expected like a couple months ago. I mean, I'd be on the phone with you like almost every day, dude. Just
Yeah,
when football ended, I was just like, dude, I feel like, honestly, I felt like a failure. I felt like I had let everybody down, or I was like about to be on this level, and then God, God restored that. God
100%.
um, renewed that with all these opportunities. To now, I don't even. Do I miss playing ball? Absolutely. But am I at a point where I'm like depressed about it, or I'm like sad, or I'm like mad about it? Nah, man. I'm very blessed, man. Everything that I have is by the grace of God.
100%.
Um, I wouldn't, and I'm very grateful that I'm able to pursue this and the sport that I have, going after it, and like I said before, I just want to have an impact on somebody's life. That
Yeah,
little that little boy at the movies.
yeah,
Um, watching, that wants to is curious about our the story, or kind of like me, how I was able to I told you I was able to laugh, cry, hear different these different stories, do the same thing for that little kid coming to the movies watching,
yeah. I love it.
and that's what I do it for, dude. I don't, I'm not just trying to be anything like that.
Yeah,
I enjoy it truthfully, and just want to have an impact on somebody's life,
yeah. What's the end goal for you? I don't think we've ever actually talked about this part, but
Well,
like, is it is it to be, in the movies, in all the movies, you know, is it to be Broadway type of thing? Like maybe not Broadway musical, but maybe if you want to do that. But like, is it like that type of acting that's on stage acting? What do you want the end to be?
so I want to do more film. I love stage. Like I love
Yeah,
dude.
yeah,
Stage, theater. That's where true acting comes in. That's the actor's
100%,
meeting. Because there's no
100%.
stop. There's no start stop. Um, take two. It's like you go. You can't mess something up or whatever. You just have to go. Versus film, it's very technical on how things are set up. So sometimes you create a world around you that's not necessarily there. Different things. It's a lot more about stillness and understanding the lens, and what you do with your eyes can say a lot. But everybody's going to the movies, so I'm just I don't know. I that's how all this kind of I don't know. It was me
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
theater. They're both different. They're both
yeah.
different.
Very different. Yeah,
Both. I want to do both. But film is more like that's like the director's meeting where you could have a bunch of takes. It's shot out of sequence.
yeah,
Some and
yeah.
mm, but that's my goal, is to be more in film.
I love it. All right, I want to get to the fun section. Now
Yes.
we recapped it perfectly. You did a great job recapping
That
it.
fucking out.
That was perfect. Listen, there's a lot to go over. There's a lot, but I want to get to the fun section because obviously we talked about a lot of
Yeah.
bulk of your life. I
Yeah.
want people to see a little bit of your personality shine through too. This is not going to be an easy question for you because of the career path that you've had. But who's the best player you've played with?
Oh, it's such a great question. Dude, I played like so many great players.
Yeah,
This kind of
and this one's real fun with you.
because then I'm gonna feel bad because I've like I've players that I've played with.
Yep. You can shout out a few. I'm okay with a few.
This actually okay. I'll shout out a few, but there's like one in particular. This actually might surprise everybody.
Okay.
Um, his name's Lando Brown, and I played with him at Elk. Um,
As in the
I
offensive lineman?
defensive lineman, but
Okay.
at a he's at a smaller Division 1 school, but he was preseason All American, having a killer season. But dude, this guy's 5 foot like 7 or 5'8" at defensive end
Oh my lord.
on everybody, dude. And I'm like, I tried to block him in practice because when I first met him, I'm like, oh, this
Yeah, yeah,
whatever. And then I try to block him, he's like, and I'm like, oh, like and then I in him like his motor,
yeah,
like I never gets tired. He's getting triple team, just getting around defenders, and that year I was at El Camino, he won Player of the Year
yeah.
for the
Wow, as a defensive player.
whole conference, and he's a
Holy.
5'5", but he's playing like he's on the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
He's literally he's the all-time sack leader at El Camino, like
Holy.
all-time sack leader at El Camino, and he's 5'8".
That's incredible.
And no, I'm just, like it's crazy. I've never.
Yeah,
And he's.
that's how's that even happen?
I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to. Yeah, he's like. Yeah, he's incredible. And then, I played with. I mean, I played with a bunch of people. I played with Wilfred Penne, who played at Virginia Tech and the Patriots. Charles Thomas, who ended up going to Michigan, and Tyler Rudolph, Penn State, and UMass. Holy crap! I'm trying to think, dude. It's like a lot of players.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, Alante Brown. He's at Michigan State. Went to Nebraska out of high school. We hear guys go to like UCLA, whatever. Like Jim
Yeah.
Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh was at our school. One time, he was like in front of me before. And then at Maine, no, he didn't. He wasn't interested in me. Like,
Are you sure?
yes,
Cause that right, he loves
yes,
a good running back.
I'm
So
sure he wasn't interested because no, he was. Anyways, and then I would say at Maine, somebody that stood out to me, or there's a couple people that stood out to me. I'll start on the defensive side of the ball. I would say Chris Thomas, who's having a killer year, um, and then Latrell Couchman. You know, so those are two back. I was going against every day at practice, which sometimes wasn't fun for me, and sometimes wasn't fun.
that's how it goes, right? That's how it goes.
But yeah, no, we made each other better. But those are, I would say, in terms of backers and defensive players, and Isaiah Henderson on the end. He was amazing. And then on the offensive side of the ball, Carter, obviously, and I played with Derek, my first year a little bit, and quarterback, you know, Carter, really got close to him, and Trevin and Mo, and you know, even my offensive line, like I can't forget about them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, dude, that. Hold on, I'm trying to make sure my phone isn't dying. Okay.
No, you're good. You're good. You're
But,
good.
but those makes a lot of players, dude. So I know I just went in, but I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna flip the script on it because that wasn't hard enough. Who's the best player you've played against?
Oh, Blake Corum.
Okay, that's fair.
He was at Michigan.
Yeah. Plays
Oh,
for the Rams right now.
yep, bro.
Yeah.
We at STM we had a stacked defense, dude. He made us look like I'm not even gonna say it. And then best player when I got to JUCO, Reggie Retzlaff. So he was the BYU quarterback last year, and I think now he's at. I mean, I didn't play against him directly, but
Yeah. No, but I know what you mean.
he's at Tulane. And then honestly, dude. Oh, and oh my goodness, this backer that I played against, he went to Mount Sac. He's at Temple. I think his name was like Supernaut or something. But um, yeah, exactly. um, but that was probably the best. those were probably the best players that I played against, to be honest.
Okay. Who's your favorite player all time?
Football,
Any sport. Could be all of them.
uh, say Frank Gore.
Okay. Why
The
Frank
way
Gore?
the way he runs the ball, bro. Um, Violent intentions, runs hard. He had a long career, dude.
Yeah, forever. He played forever.
That was partially why I wanted 21. When I was at
That's fair.
Maine.
That's fair.
Um, he's a you know hard, hard, hard fought running back.
And you don't see somebody with longevity like that at the running back position ever.
Exactly, exactly.
What about since you were a big baseball fan growing up?
I was not a big baseball fan.
Oh, you said you said you played
Yeah,
baseball.
I play. You know why I play? Because I'm Dominican, and my parents wanted me to play when I was young. I
That's fair.
sucked, and I sucked
That's
at
fair.
it. I
That
was awful.
surprises me.
I was awful. That's why I
Okay.
didn't play.
Okay. Basketball then.
Oh, basketball. Like my favorite basketball player.
Yeah, all time.
Um, well, I told you Russell Westbrook, and then obviously LeBron James, which I don't know, people get you know be careful if I say he's the goat or whatever.
I
You said what?
I said I literally had that conversation 2 nights ago when I had Bryce on the podcast. Was who's the goat at the end of the podcast? So.
But the thing is, I grew up seeing LeBron on obviously Cleveland early, then
Yeah.
Miami, and then Cleveland, now the Lakers. But I feel like people see LeBron now, and they see the Lakers, and he's still great, but he's not like what he was in Miami or even Cleveland. Um, so when I measure like his greatness, like I just look at what he did in like Miami, and it was like unreal, dude. Like this guy was not.
Yeah.
He's not human now, but he really like was just like out of this world when he
Yeah,
was in
he was
Miami.
insane in Miami. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I've never seen even a player to this day like that.
No, that's what we talked about. We said we actually share the same opinion, which is I've never met anybody else who shares the same opinion as I do. But I oft hold Jordan as the greatest of all time, simply 6-0 in the finals, and the accolades he has, I think, set him apart in that aspect. But skill for skill, pound for pound, there's no one better than LeBron ever.
Exactly.
Like most skilled, it's LeBron.
And
But
then
greatness,
yeah,
I think, is obviously more than that, and LeBron has kind of had sucky teams around him, so that hasn't helped him.
and people are Luca and Austin Reeves are going off, and people are like, "Oh, trade LeBron." I'm like, "You idiot!" Like,
Go ahead. I mean, it's like someone else will
yeah,
be so happy to have him.
yeah. And then obviously I love Kobe. Just the Mamba mentality and
Gotta
always
love
relax.
Kobe.
So yeah,
I will never forget where I was when I found out Kobe died.
I
Awful
was,
day.
was I was crying, dude. I was like, damn,
Oh, bro, so was I. I was
like
crying. Yeah,
that's heartbreaking, dude.
yeah,
Even like, I mean, even the way he like went out, dude. Like that's unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
yeah. Okay. Best sports memory. It's your greatest memory. It doesn't have to be like because you were awesome. But if there's like some random basketball memory that you have that
Like
is
like
the
that
best, but
involved me playing or just like me.
why not? Do both.
Okay, so I'll start with me watching is when there's like two.
Okay.
The When the Giants won the Super Bowl in 2011, and then the Ray Allen shot. Actually, yeah, the Ray Allen shot against the Spurs.
Yeah.
Um, and
The backpedaling to the corner.
yes,
Yes,
like
sir.
that game was crazy, dude.
Oh, it's crazy.
that game,
I
that game was crazy.
as
Uh,
a like avid Boston fan, watching him do that was just pain.
yes, and that's when I thought basketball was at its peak in the NBA.
Well, agreed. Yeah, I agree.
And then in terms of me playing, obviously Villanova was a great memory. We beat the number 5 in the country. El Camino, I mean, I've posted this before, but the line where I run up the gut where
Yeah.
I took like 3 defenders and score a touchdown, and then posting and got like 20,000 views on Instagram, and
Yeah.
it was awesome. Um, in high school, I had like I had a game winning touchdown when I was at STM
Yeah.
against one of the top teams in Virginia. I think they were called National Christian Academy,
Dang.
and they were picked to beat us, and we beat them 42-41, and I scored a 40 something yarder in the fourth quarter, and everybody was going crazy. It was just a great
Wild.
moment. Great. Um, I had another game winner early on in high school. Um, that was like 60 yards. But yeah, those two
Okay.
memories.
I love it. Okay. Who is your biggest inspiration? Who inspires you the most?
It's a great question. Well, one I'd say obviously say this inspiration, but God, that's try to emulate that and try to do that as much as possible. But my mother, you know, my mother is one of the strongest women that you'll ever meet. You met her briefly, but um, the all the adversity. She raised 2 kids by herself, and you know, I I don't know how she was able to do that.
Yeah.
She did everything to make sure me and my sister were good. I would like to think me and my sister are 2 very successful people.
Mm.
You know, everything that we do, been possible without God, but also without you know my mother. So like whenever I'm dealing with something, I'm just like, if my mom did it, or if my mom could fight, then I could do it. So my mom was like, my superhero growing.
I love it. I'll do one more and then we'll end this thing. Um, for athletes and obviously especially in Maine, since as most of the people who enjoy this podcast, what would you say is the biggest thing that an athlete needs to play at the next level? To be the next Brian Santana-Fis, how do they become that?
I would say, well, one, don't be like me, be like yourself. There's
Hey,
only
there we go.
I'm only one person, so there's only one
Yep,
of me.
yep,
Just like there's only one of you, and then one of whatever. But resiliency, man. Um, playing Division 1 or having high aspirations, whatever. It's not just about skill. Like I wasn't the biggest, I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the strong. Okay, maybe I was the strongest, but um, I wasn't like I wasn't a freak, or anything on the field. Like I didn't have like a supernatural ability. I was just very consistent, and I just made sure that I focused on what I had in front of me and focused on the process. You know, it's not about you're competing with yourself, so it's not always about the other person. Although you want to outwork everybody, it's about you know how can I be the best version of myself um, every day? How can I get 1% better?
yeah,
How can I improve? As long as I'm improving, like, dude, I didn't like just as we about. This is not a story where I came out of high school and I had all these Division 1 offers and boom, had a awesome, amazing career. No, it was a lot of adversity,
yeah,
a lot of tears, a lot of wondering if I was delusional or crazy for doing what but I ultimately went back to the process and I was just like, okay, you know, what do I have in front of me? Like, I have to do this, that. Let me master this. Let me master this so I can, I'm not good at this right now, but I will be in a few months or in a year, years. You know, I didn't, you know, growing up, I didn't necessarily go out like all the time or anything like I was in, when people were going out and like when I was in high school, like I was just
Yeah.
staying home. I was, waking up early. I was doing all these things, all these things that aren't, amusing or,
Yeah.
cool, whatever, I was doing, because I had a bigger picture, So I would say to kids, like, don't be a follower, be a leader, focus on your goals, focus on God, but, have goals and, work hard for those goals. You can have dreams and all those things, but ultimately you have to act on it. You have to do it.
I'm sorry.
Um, and the Bible says faith without works is dead. So, have faith and do all these things, but ultimately go out your way and, you know, do things that aren't necessarily, you might have to not go out to this whatever party or
Yeah.
whatever because you want to be a workout or you want to work out or you want to run it or you want to study film at or whatever.
Yeah.
So just being consistent, working hard, persevering, because ultimately, what you go through now will prepare you for what you have to go through later on. So, you know, just don't care, don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Focus on what you have to do, and with that, like my coach said, love the process, and the process will love you back.
Absolutely.
So,
I love it. Okay. Perfect way to end it. I love it. Um, Obviously, thank you for coming on. That
absolutely,
was a long time in the making. Um, I give you the floor at the end. I always give my guests the floor at the end. If you got anything on your mind that you'd like to share, feel free. That can be, shouting out your Instagram. It can be, letting us know what's going on next in your life, the next big event that's coming up, or whatever it may be. You have the floor to say whatever you want. It could be motivation for somebody, but whatever you want to say, it's all yours, and then I'll close us.
yeah. No, I would just say, go, especially the athletes. I think us as athletes, and
Yeah.
I did this.
Yeah.
We all have to focus. Boom, like it's all about my sport and all about this and all about that. Um, but we're put on this earth to multiple things, and go after what what you want to do. Like if you want to be a doctor, or you want to you know be an actor, or you want to do whatever you want to do. Like don't wait for anybody's permission. Like and don't necessarily worry about what people are going to think. Just go after, in one life. Now make sure what God has, for your life, but expand. Don't you know. Like when it comes to acting, I don't just want to be an actor. I want to learn how to produce. I want to learn how to direct. I want to be in this space and do all these things so I can help create um, for other people because ultimately it's an art form. But just be yourself and then um, go after your passion. Go after your passion. Go after. Don't wait. Don't wait 10 years. Whatever. Just go after it. So also follow me on Instagram at Brian Santana-Fis.
Yes, sir. Yes,
uh,
sir.
yeah, no. I'll just end with that. I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. To all the people who end up watching, share it up, like it, do all the things with it. And we'll see you for the next podcast.